couple of years ago, I started a summer business called Iqaluit Landscaping, where I hired some guys from the men's shelter, and we'd go around and people would hire us, and we would go and we'd clean up garbage, or we'd move logs or storage or whatever it was. And one time, I hired this young guy from one of the communities in Nunavut, and we had to dig a big hole. That was all we had to do. So we spent a very lovely Sunday afternoon digging this gigantic hole. And it took 2 or 3 hours. And during this time, I'm super curious about people. So I asked him, about his life and what he wanted to do. And his big aspiration was to become a drug dealer in his hometown. And I was fascinated by this. I was in awe. I thought this was so interesting. So I kept digging, and I was like, but why? And like, how? And what's your reasoning? And the things that he mentioned to me, I thought were very interesting, because he said things like, well, he wants access to drugs. Fair enough. He wanted to have a flexible schedule so he could pick his own hours, be his own boss. And he wanted to make money. He wanted financial freedom. And these are all things that entrepreneurs set out to attain, which is why I thought that, entrepreneurship and drug dealing, they're so similar. Like, the only really thing that's different is the product they sell, especially now that weed, for example, is legal in Canada. All the small-time pot dealers, like, they're small franchisees, I guess, or, they're just salespeople for a product that's legal now. So I keep thinking, why wouldn't drug dealers sort of transition into entrepreneurship? And I think there should be some kind of program that helps them do that, because the skills are there. Just read 50 Cent's book, man. He's a crazy entrepreneur. And he just learned it hustling drugs in New York. It's like the pathways in the mind are already there. So if you just switch the product, you could have a whole group of people who no longer sell drugs, but they're making legitimate money selling something else. I know that I'm discounting a lot of addiction issues and mental health issues, and that's a whole nother topic, but I just thought it was a curious comparison. But this young man I was digging a hole with, I asked him, and we sort of did the math while we were digging. I thought this was really fun. And it turned out that based on the cost of the drugs and the amount that he wanted to sell them for, and how much he was going to use for himself, we figured out that he would actually be making if he was working a regular work week, he'd be making about $35 an hour. And so I pointed out to him that, he could probably, with an education, a high school degree or something, he could probably get an entry-level position with the government of Nunavut, because they pay really well up in Nunavut. He could probably get an entry-level position there and be making close to 35 grand, $35 an hour in the government job. And then I pointed out to him some of the hidden costs of drug dealing, which are, well, I guess, overdosing, depending on your drug, jail, death, violence, all of these bad things that he hadn't really taken into account when he had this dream of being a drug dealer. I don't think I got through to him, though. And again, this might be part of the addiction, mental health, lack of education sort of thing. But there's something there. Not sure what it is. But I think drug dealers could be fantastic entrepreneurs. Take care.